starting the planning phase here. In this drawing here, we've got the wheels. We've got 4 of them here. That's going to make a solid base for the car. We've got the handbrake here. It's got 2 levers on it going to the brake part underneath the car, and a nice handle across here that's going to allow the boys from either the left hand or the right hand to grab a hold of that brake. Here you see these green parts. This is actually 2 2x4s. We've got one on the bottom the wheels are attached to. We've got one on top with very tight spacing. You want it pretty much against the center 2x4 there. This is more of a drag race. They aren't doing any steering. They aren't going around circles. Basic outline of our seat here with the seat belt. That's obviously important for safety. And the steering loop, which is attached to an additional loops down here, which the boys can stick their feet in. That's going to help keep their feet on that front bar there, give them a little bit of turning ability, but primarily just keep them on track and keep their feet safe. On the back here, we've got again another 2x4 with a second 2x4 over top. That's going to give added stability and added structure to it so that they can go safely down the hill. And we've got these turnbuckles here, which is an idea that's been used by many Cubmobiles and has worked effectively to keep that back axle squared up and true so that it stays where it needs to stay. It stays straight to the rest of the body rather than rotating or twisting if they run into a bump or a curb. We've also got these little pieces here. They're supports and brackets for the back seat. Other than that, we've got the basic eye shape, as you can see here in the video. That is the basics of the 2x4s that are going to be used for the frame of the car. You can also double up the center 2x4 here to give it a lot more stability and rigidity to keep the boys going down comfortably. Okay, we're going to talk about how you're going to drill your centers on your wood here. Now this is just a scrap piece of wood. It's nothing major, but it'll give the concept of it here. I personally like to start with a good cross across the piece of wood there to know roughly where I'm shooting for. So I'd line it up on this corner here, and it's a perfect 45-degree angle. That's solid. That's not going anywhere. So one cross, and once again the opposite direction here. So that's roughly our center. And then the motto is measure twice, cut once. So we see here our piece of wood is roughly 3 1/4. So we're going to take it, and that'll be 1 1/2 plus an extra 1/8. So roughly right there. And we want to measure that from the other side as well. So 1 1/2 plus an 1/8. That's right there. And we want to do the same down as far as 1 1/8 or 1 1/2 plus an 1/8 puts us right about there. So that's roughly our center there. We can go ahead and double check it with that 45-degree angle, and if we line that up there, that's that one there. And if we do the same on the other side here, line it up there, and it does show that I goofed up on the first one there. That is pretty much right on where we want to be. One of the tricks I've got is if I really want that hole to be right there, I'll go ahead and take, and this is just basically a scratch awl, but it puts a nice centered point on it. And so I can put that right here, hit it one time, and I've got exactly where I want that drill bit to sit. And so then I take it, and I'm going to take a smaller drill bit first, and then I'll use a larger drill bit in order to get the hole not only in the center and going perfectly up and down, but also to get it the size that I need. So I've got an 1/8 inch drill bit here. This is going to be a fairly small hole, but that means I can get it perfectly up and down fairly easily. I can look from above and make sure that I'm lined up on those X marks that I made. Drill down. And you can see that it went all the way through, so we've got a nice hole there, and looking at it from above, it looks like it's pretty much straight up and down, which is great. That's exactly what we want. Now I switch out for my 1/2 inch bit here, which is going to be the size of the holes for the axle or the bolts going up and down in the I-frame. So take it once again. I want to make sure I'm lined up pretty well. Going from above, drilling down into it. Take it slow and steady. We're almost through there, so we'll finish it off over the edge here. There we go. That'll need to be sanded a little bit to clean it up. But there's your nice 1/2 inch hole all the way through the wood. And it's in the center of the piece of wood there, so that if it's the same piece of wood, so 2x4 this way and a 2x4 this way, it lines up perfectly in the center of both pieces. You can do that on both pieces of wood exactly the same way. Okay, before we begin assembly, we're going to talk about this, the washer sandwich. We've got our long bolts going through. They're going to go through the I-frame. But it's important that we've got some support to those bolts. As far as we've got a washer up here, the washers are in green. So we'll have our chunk of wood going in here, first piece. We've got our second chunk of wood going in here, the 2x4s. So we've got a washer in between each piece of wood, or above and below each piece of wood, here and here. And then we've also got a rubber washer in there, kind of to give it a little bit of flex and stability to it. Because the only constant in life is change. So everything's got to be able to move and to wiggle a bit. So that's what that rubber washer does for us. We've got our big nut at the bottom here on the bolt. And that's going to give us that compression factor, but also give us the stability so that it's not wobbling all over the place or just swinging around like a baseball bat. That combination there is going to be used on the chassis or the frame itself, as far as in the front and in the back, to make sure that our cart stays secure, and also that it's got the integrity needed, or the ability to deal with the boys riding down the hill on it. A very important part to it. Okay, so we've got our bolt, and we go ahead and put the first washer on it there. See, it spins freely. And on this car, this is just this design, it's upside down right now. We've got our center body piece, and then we've got our front block here that's going to be part of our axle assembly. So we put first bolt through, and that's going to fit kind of tight, but that's okay. Get it through there a bit. We're going to put on the center piece of our washer and sandwich, kind of our meat and cheese here. So first washer to go against the wood, that rubber washer I mentioned, and then the other washer here. Set that down on it, and we're going to use a hammer to tap it into place here. So if we take it, we hit it a couple times, it should go all the way through. There we go, it's all the way through now. We can take our other washer and our nut, and then go on the bottom side, which is actually the top side because it's upside down. Start it off, and we'll want to tighten it up with, I'm going to use a socket wrench and also an open-ended wrench to finish this off once it's on there. But it started, it's definitely got a lot of play to it right now. We'll check our fit, we're good there. Check our direction, there we go. That on top, that on the bottom, tighten it up. You can see it's rotating, but it's definitely tightened up a fair amount there. And now it's still got some move to it, but it's a lot tighter, a lot more stable. It's moving the whole thing all as one there. Okay, so this is a mock-up, so we're going to demonstrate what it would look like with the doubled up 2x4. We've got the secondary one here for the center of this body, and it's got a lot of gap in there that would allow for the turnbuckles to be put in, or for a number of other different options you could choose to do on it. And on ours here, it's going to sandwich down onto the nut that's in place there. And then we're just going to screw it in just to kind of give the feel and the demonstration of it there. We recommend using like a lag bolt or full carriage bolt assembly for it with the washer sandwich and everything that we had earlier. So this definitely gives us some stability and just increases the load capacity, or how much it can carry, how much it's going to put up with the boys going down and having fun on it. One of the things you want to make sure of is that when you put screws into this front piece here, there's not going to hit on that axle. It's still going to have the wiggle room that it needs. So if you look here, these are screws here, and obviously we'd recommend lag bolts, but you're going to want to make sure that they don't go down into this piece of wood. So obviously these 2-inch screws here will go through the first one and not through the second one, and that's important. And they're countersunk there so that they go all the way down in. Here we can see lining up, as far as you want to make sure that your back axle there is perfectly squared with the frame piece. So we've got this here, you take your right angle right to it, and you see, oh, this one we're going to have to adjust just a hair, but you want to make sure that's as true as possible so that when your Scout's going down the hill there, at least the back end of it stays perfectly straight, following behind the front end. That's one of the biggest pieces that it seems little, but often it's the little details that make the world of difference. Okay, so we're going to talk about these front blocks, the restrictors on the steering for the kids. Now this is a drag race. The kids are going to go in a straight line is the goal. You need just a hair of steering, and really not even that much, just a minute little bit. Really leaning on the car will actually help them steer as much as they need. So you want to take, you can do long blocks, you can do short blocks. This is just a mock-up. You can take these blocks and you really want to sandwich it in there tight, square it up and everything like that. Take them and you're going to want to put some bolts through there so that they stay put as much as possible. These are just going to be screwed in here to demonstrate this. There's a little bit of give there, and we want to put this other one over here as well to do exactly the same thing. Just keep it nice and tight and keep it going in a straight line. So got another one over here. Sandwich that up on there. Screw it down into place. You see there's a little bit of wobble to that, but that's all they need, is that little bit of wobble so that when they lean, okay, the car goes that way, the car goes this way. It's going where they need it to go, but they're staying in that straight line going down the drag strip there basically, because it's not a steering course, it's a straight downhill approach for the boys. Okay, so talking about the seatbelt here, safety first, so we want to make sure that we got something solid. This 1-inch strap will work great. We've got a nice solid clasp there. This is a 1-inch clasp for the 1-inch strap. Does in solidly. We got stoppers to hold it tight, and it is adjustable as far as in the back here to fit the different sizes of kids that we'll be having running on this. Gone ahead and modified it and gone through the loops where the hooks originally were and put a grommet in there just so I know where my center is. And then to attach this, it not only needs to be attached, but it needs to be secured. So we've got this piece of wood that we'll do over the top. I've got one screw in the center that's going to go through that grommet. We'll put that in there first just to get our start at. Anchor that down nice and tight. And we can see we got the seatbelt coming out on both sides here. So that's good. I want to go ahead and put my other 2 screws here straight through into the webbing and then also into the board behind it, the support board. That's just to keep it secure and solid and make sure that nothing undoes on us that we can't survive. So we've got one there. One there. That's nice and solid. It's not going anywhere. Even if we run it into a pothole and a nice sized curve, we're still going to be secured in our seat there. Okay, so as you can see here, we've got our seatbelt attached to that back support. And we wanted to go ahead and build up this back support here as far as making sure that it's sturdy. You don't want your whole back end just going flop on you and all of a sudden you're losing down this thing instead of riding down it. And so we've got two 2x4s in the back here, and they're just lined up at the same angle as each other, done so that it's a perfect 90 there, lining up nice. I've secured it at the base and at the top here. Recommend the lag bolts again. Again, this is just a mock-up, so it's got some screws in it to hold it together. And we recommend bolts down here as well, or you could do lag bolts as well, but something solid so that this stays as one piece up down there, and this stays solid up here, so the boys have a firm base that they're sitting on. We'll go ahead and put our seat and our back on here, making sure that we've got room for the seat belt to come through the back there, so the boys can do up securely. Excellent. So we've got the seat here, nice firm piece, screwed in with bolts. Keep the kids' butts on the seat here. Seat belt comes through, it's free flowing, it can be adjusted for the various different sizes of kids. This one can even fit an adult in there if you really wish to. It'd be no problem. Fit an adult in there. Nice solid back. Keep them with something to lean up against, keep their head up, but so they aren't trying to balance themselves on the car as well as trying to balance the car down the track. Definitely makes it a much more enjoyable and fun ride for the boys. You can see their smile going across their face down the track there. Okay, so obviously stopping is a big thing, especially for the boys. They're worried about how fast they're going and what are they going to do at the end. Oh my gosh, I know a lot of moms are worried about that too. So we've got this brake here, and this one's actually done slightly different. Again, this is a mock-up. This is an idea. This isn't what you have to do. But we've got the 6-inch bolt going through the 2x4 here. We've got a washer on each end and the nut over here, so it's solidly secure and everything, but it can still rotate. We've got over here on this end, you see this rubber band down here, and what that allows us to do is it kind of pulls it back up a bit once the boys have used the brake. So they pull it down, it grabs the ground there below them, but then they let go and it pulls it back up into place so that it's not dragging all the time. We've got a support going, or a piece going down here. We've got rubber on this. So down here on the underside, there's rubber on this piece here. To kind of hit the ground and just put some traction there, some friction between the ground and the car. The boys driving it. And up here we've got, on either side, we've got this piece of broom handle with a cross member in it so that when the boys are sitting there, they don't have to think about it. It's right in front of them. They just grab it and jerk it towards them, and they're braking on the ground there. They let go and it goes back up. Good to go. You can add more rubber bands or whatever you need to do so that it's fit to not only your boys and what they can handle as far as the pull, the resistance, but also that it does what it needs to do. You can loosen these up. And we strongly recommend that through all the bolts here, you go ahead and drill out a hole through the end going this way. Put a pin in there, whether it's a cotter pin, just a piece of metal bent so that it keeps that nut in place so it doesn't back away from what its intended purpose is. If the nut falls out, the bolt goes flying the other direction, all of a sudden they're without a brake and they're kind of crying at you as they're all scuffed up with the road rash and everything else. But that's preventable just by sticking a little hole through there, putting a piece of metal through it, and stopping everything from falling apart on them. Okay, so we've got Jessica, our lovely model here. We've got the wheels on it, the axles. And these ones are solid axles, but you can do the short axles as well and drill them into the wood. And we've got the rope over the foot straps here to keep her feet up there, going back to her so she can hold on to that. Gives her something to hold on to, make sure that she feels like she's in control of it. And obviously the same thing over here, so that tightens up as she pulls on the handle. So get that. She pulls on it a bit, it tightens up around her foot, keep her feet in place there. A lot of groups also put the baseboard underneath, have it extending back here a bit so that it's really hard for the Scots to put their feet down. She's got her brake here within reach, easily done. She's got her safety helmet on, always a good plus, and we've got the seat belt going around her there too, so she stays in that seat there. And obviously we want a little bit of steering to it, but there isn't much whatsoever. You can go ahead and try and steer that. Now use your feet. Push with your feet. Yep, and she's got a little bit of steering there as you can see, but not much at all. And so she's fairly secure on that, and she's good to go, ready for race day.